All right. I've looked at who am I? I've looked at what am I offering, and I've got those down now. The next question is who am I offering to? Who are you offering to? Okay, well, and there's a couple things here, right, that we always talk to people about. Um, First is don't think market. Don't think I'm offering it to 10 million. Not at this point. I'm offering it to 10 million people across my country, or there's 100,000 in my city. You want to be thinking about the individual human being that you're offering it to. The person that when you walk in with that offering, right? And I'm making the assumption here we're in kind of a consumer space for a minute here, but when it could be business to business too. Who is that person who's going to sit down and experience that offer? And at this point, I sometimes even give them a name, right? Later we'll use the term pre-persona, but who's the persona? Who's the person that represents that individual human that represents the person who's going to use what you're offering? Mm-hmm. That's probably the biggest thing we advise people at the beginning is who's the person? Describe them to.
And it's the biggest mistake as well in terms of how people actually answer that question, right? Like, we see people make the mistake all the time of saying, well, I'm offering, this particular dog food to all the dog lovers in the world. And really everybody that owns a dog is my customer. So everybody's my customer. And I just need 2% of that market.
Right.
Like that happens all the time. Right? And what we're trying to show people here that you need to humanize that beneficiary. They have to be a particular person, because everybody within a particular industry per se isn't going to be your customer, because your offering is going to be very specific to different people and different companies, or whatever the case may be, whatever your example is. So you're answering this question, who are you offering it to? You have to think about the specific person, not the industry.
Right. Absolutely right. Like, when I'm doing this in a university context, what I'll get a lot of is who are we offering it to? All students. Right? Or I'm doing this in a corporate setting. Oh, all our corporate clients who, we deal with this product line. It's like, no, you've got to be more specific than that. Like you just or when we were doing our work on Straight Up Businesses too, right? We're going to offer it to all educators. No, it's not that. Or all startup, founders. No, it's not all startup. You got to get more specific than that, right? So then you get into, well, who specifically is that offering going to be given to? Who describe that person, right? Describe a person who's going to use that. We will, especially when we get into pitching and later stuff around, articulating the size of this opportunity. We'll scale this up. We'll peg the scale of the opportunity, but who's the human being behind this?
Yeah, and even like one of the examples, I like one of the simplest examples, and you always remind me of this one, is the grocery store.
Yeah.
You think about the cereal aisle. There's all different types of cereal that talk to different people. Well, you're not going to say that a particular cereal product that you're developing is going to be for everybody that eats, or everybody that likes cereal,
exactly,
or everybody that that loves sugar. Like it's not that simple.
Right. Well, just think of that cereal aisle, right? Like if I walk down that aisle with my 8-year-old girl or 8-year-old daughter, right? First of all, she and I are very different in how we perceive the value of what's being offered, right? She's looking at Fruit Loops and Cheerios, or not Cheerios, Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms. I'm looking at the health angle on it, right? I'm thinking, no, it's got to be more healthy. I'm thinking about things differently in terms of the price, or she cares about what's on the box, right? So the offering for her would be very different than the offering for me. So who is it? And where we probably want to focus people here, we're starting to talk about user and buyer, and customer and beneficiary, is the person who's going to make the decision. That's probably the place to start with this idea napkin, and the first time around it is, who is the person who's going to make the economic decision maker? Who makes that decision, right? And that's where you might also, if you were, back in the offering, if you had a second post-it note to speak about the other person, you might then have a second post-it note here to match. But generally, you want to be focused on what that key offering is for that key economic decision maker at this point, right?
Yeah, that example just shows you how important it is to answer this properly. It's not everybody in an industry. Like, you really, really have to get down to it and who it is specifically as a human being that is going to be potentially interested in your product or service.
Exactly. Yeah. So it comes down to the task of I mean, we've got a box on the screen here. Who is in that box and who is not in that box, right? So all students is too big. That box is way too big. So get more specific than that. Get more specific. It could be geographic. It could be by age. It could be by interest. It could be by program. It could be by all these things. Just to pick on the word student, right? Serial buyers. It could be okay. No, it's the health. I'm targeting the health conscious male who has a daughter or kid of 8 years of age and who wants to eat well under these circumstances, or who has gluten, or who has, you got to be that specific at this point with this first one. And what we'll end up doing, just to foreshadow, is once you get into but I've also got, is you end up with a second idea napkin, right? Yeah, you do have another, let's say product in your line, or a deviate. There's Honey Nut Cheerios and there's Cheerios. Those are on two separate napkins in the end, right? And what we've been teasing out here by allowing you to have a second post-it note is making, we've actually got two idea napkins. So coming back to it, we really probably should be forcing people in, or encouraging people here to go, no, who is this napkin for?
That's right.
Who is this offering for? Specific.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And then, like you said, with the foreshadowing, like in time, we'll have lessons and levels that'll help them, get a little bit more detailed about, value proposition and asking themselves the right questions around the particular offer and who those particular customers are.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. No, we're going to come back to all of these things. Even if you have this idea napkin done and it's right, you're going to go deep into each of the other tool sets and you explore each of these areas. Like value proposition is such a perfect example. The stuff that's coming down the road later in this course series is about value proposition design, and how do we, once we know that, or we think we know the napkin, how do we design that out, right? So just help people keep in mind here that this is just that first, let's get it down so we can build on it later.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really it. I think it's,
so do I.
They answer that well, that'll, like you said, we're going to eventually come back to it, but it'll be set up really, really good for the next part of the napkin.
Yeah, I do too. Right on. Okay, well, good luck with that piece.